Hello and welcome to the 2023 Texas Signing Class Position by Position Breakdown Series. We've got a great opening episode here for you talking about the quarterback position. I'm here with recruiting editor Mike Roach, Tommy Yarsh, joining here with Horns247. Mike, we've got a really talented player to talk about here to start us off. He's the crown jewel of Steve Sarkisian's class, the number one player in the nation. He's the Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year, the nephew of Peyton and Eli. I can go on for about 30 minutes when it comes to the accolades that this guy has. It's five-star Isidori Newman quarterback Arch Manning. Mike, you've gotten to see Arch play several times in person down in Louisiana. What is it about Arch Manning that Texas fans should be really, really excited about?
I think he checks a lot of boxes for any quarterback prospect. He's big, he's mobile, can make all the throws, can throw to any depth. He processes really well, is able to understand what defenses are doing against him. He is a very cerebral player. I remember talking to the Isidore Newman coaches, telling me that Arch would be involved on Sunday afternoons as soon as they were done from a game. In game planning the next week. So I think that he's the total package of what you want in a quarterback prospect. And that's not a surprise given his last name.
And when you hear the word mobility, you typically don't hear the word Manning followed after that when you think of Eli and Peyton. So Arch trying to turn the script when it comes to his family line, trying to add the mobility aspect in there. But when it comes to his skill set overall, he adds the traits that you would see in Peyton and Eli: good arm strength, pocket presence, footwork, and then you throw mobility in there. That's what makes him so special. And he's got that one-of-a-kind pedigree that no one else has coming from the Manning family. So much success out of there. All this in mind, how well does he fit into the offensive scheme that Steve Sarkisian plays with at Texas?
I think he fits great in every single offensive scheme, but at Texas specifically, when you're talking about a very RPO heavy and a very detailed offense where you have to process a lot as a quarterback, I think getting a guy like him who's already there mentally is a big boon for this offense. He's running a lot of those same principles at Isidore Newman. They had been working with the Texas staff and adding some of those elements to their offense over the last 2 years. So he's familiar with a lot of the same type of tendencies, same type of situations, all those sorts of things. I think that he's a great fit, like I said, for any offense, but specifically for this one. And I think that was a big part of him choosing Texas.
And you mentioned being a good fit in any offense. Obviously, Manning's recruitment was one that was nationally watched out for. Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, all trying to get in and try to get his signature. Remember, they happened to host Arch Manning's official visit the same weekend they retired his Uncle Eli's jersey. So Manning was in the end zone for his official visit. Maybe a little subtle sign there to try and get him to commit to the Rebels. But at the end of the day, he signs with Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns. What was the determining factor for Arch when it comes to making his decision and joining the Longhorns in Austin?
I think Austin was a big component of that. He talked often about how Austin reminded him of uptown New Orleans, where he came from. I think the offense, the opportunity to play for a guy like Steve Sarkisian, when you looked at those other schools outside of Lane Kiffin, Georgia, Alabama, the schools that were mainly in it for him, those were defensive head coaches. Texas gave him an offensive head coach who's known for running a revolutionary offense. AJ Milwee played a huge role in that. I don't think that could be understated either. Being that face-to-face relationship for him, almost like a big brother type to him during his recruitment. And then the opportunity to forge his own path. He could have gone to one of those established SEC programs that's better off right now as far as results go on the field. But with Texas trying to make this push back into the national elite, I think he saw an opportunity to kind of blaze his own trail.
And speaking of blazing his own trail, that process starts now in his first year in Austin. Remember, he enrolled early. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, Quinn Ewers is going to be the starting quarterback for the Longhorns. The question stands in the backup spot. Who does Steve Sarkisian go with? At the end of the season last year, it was Malik Murphy, who's been battling injuries but is now finally healthy. Now Arch Manning comes into the picture. When you think of that backup slot, Mike, is that something that realistically you think Arch Manning can battle and maybe even beat out Malik Murphy for when it comes time to talk about that in the spring heading into the season?
It'll certainly be interesting to see. Arch Manning has a ton of talent. So would I think he could? Yes, absolutely. But it's important to remember that Malik Murphy came to Texas with a lot of talent, a very high ceiling prospect as well. Very different from Arch in pedigree and style. But we're still talking about an immensely talented quarterback who is really getting healthy for the first time since he's been in Austin. So I think that the great thing about Texas is the quarterback room is full of high ceiling arms. And I wouldn't count out Malik Murphy. I don't think he's going to lay down for anybody.
No doubt about it. He's fought hard every single day that he's been on campus. Going back to Arch real quick, he's been at the center of arguments throughout his entire recruitment process where questions flying around. Is he really that good? Or is it just the last name and the pedigree that the last name carries that has him ranked so high? Mike, when you hear those kinds of things all the time on social media or podcasts or wherever they may come from, what are your overall thoughts on it, and what's your message to critics when it comes to Arch Manning?
I think if you look at what Arch Manning is from a traits perspective, he checks every box to be an elite quarterback. When you add in the name, like people say, take away the name, I don't think you can take away the name. That's a huge component of it. We love looking at pedigrees of guys and where they come from. And I think the DNA matters a lot in many cases, and it certainly matters in this case. It's a very unique pedigree. We've never seen anything like it. That we're talking about a family of elite quarterbacks, and what they've done at the position has revolutionized it. So I don't think you could take the name out of it. I think the name is a big factor, and it's a positive factor in this case.
Certainly, the Mannings in a class of their own when it comes to quarterback pedigree. Last question here for you, Mike. Speaking of quarterback pedigree, 247's Cooper Pategna evaluated Manning back in June of last year, said he projected him to be a top 10 draft pick, as well as comparing him to Joe Burrow. That's high praise for any quarterback that's not even played a snap of college football. But when you think about comparisons for Arch Manning, would you say yours are the same, or is there maybe a different player that comes to mind?
I think Coop has a great eye. He's one of the guys I trust in this business when it comes to making evaluations, comparisons, and all those sorts of things. So I'm gonna go with Coop on the Joe Burrow comparison. What I like that links the two is how cool they both are on the field. I think Joe Burrow's got the Joe Cool reputation, never seems to fold under the pressure. I saw a lot of that from Arch Manning during his time. He was outgunned in a lot of games at Isidore Newman. To where opposing teams had a lot more talent than him. We saw him on the field in the fall of 2022 against Manny, which is a 2A power that had several big-time D1 prospects on it. And despite, being physically outmatched, never seemed to lose his cool, never seemed to lose who he was in that pocket. So I love that comparison. And I think when you look at them similarly, a lot of same skill set.
Great points as always, and I also agree that I think Coop did a great eval there. Thank you so much for joining us here on our first episode of the 2023 Texas signing class position group by position group breakdown. Be sure to stick around for the next group of signees that we'll detail coming to your screens soon. While you're here, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the Horns247 YouTube channel. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. For Mike Roach, I'm Tommy Yarsh. We'll see you next time.